So welcome to this next video in this series. In this one we're going to focus on creating the corner pieces for the water. So much in the same style as before, we're going to create the corner pieces which will fill in just like this, exactly the same as we did up here. But in this one we're also going to make some connections so that if we were to have the water going around the edge, we would be able to fill in these gaps here. Obviously these corner pieces are not going to be suitable. The reason for this is, whereas in this one our pebbles were the ones that were keeping these sort of seamless, in this one obviously it's very much a different scenario. So what we're going to do is make two types of corners in this tutorial. Obviously, again, at this stage I'm not going to run you through every single one. I'm going to do two examples and then it's up to you to fill those gaps in for the other corners. Okay, so where we finished before, we have our edges. I actually didn't save the last file I did, so I've sort of copied these back over from the previous one. Just got to rename this here, which shouldn't take too long. So water, and that is up here. Okay, or top, either way, it doesn't matter. So the corners. So the first what we're going to do is do sealed corners. So by sealed, what I mean is that as we can see on the Sprite sheet here, so I just got a bit of burp, that this corner is a seal. We seal in the water, that if we was to have a pond or a lake or something inside, it would be sealed. Okay, it wouldn't run to the end of the map. So what we're going to do is start with which one should we go for? Should we go for the... We'll go for the top left. Just one thing to note, obviously we don't have the water down here, so actually yeah, we'll do the bottom because you want to see how to blend this part in, so we'll do the bottom left. So two things we need to start with is obviously the parts that connect, which is going to be the left and the right. Okay, and what we need to do is work out how many pixels across each parts of these are, so we know how to start building our corner. So if we take our left, and I've actually named these the wrong way around, had a very busy day, and there we go. So if we take our left, and we'll zoom in just to see, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so what we're going to do for now is just move this up, and we're going to edge, sorry, wrong one, we're just going to check that that's in the right position. So if we go to our selection tool and we go to fix size, we can do 16 by 16 because that's the size we're going to be working to, and I'm just one off. Okay, so we can move that up, and next we're going to do the bottom, because obviously we're doing the bottom left, and we can just move this across, and I think it's about there, but we should be right. Yep, there we go, look at that. Oh no, one more back, control D, and there we go. So essentially we want to connect this corner up with this point right here. So the first thing we're going to do is get our pencil tool again, and from the previous session, hold Alt. If you haven't done that, obviously go back to pencil. You do that by holding this down and getting that up, and obviously take that down to 1. And once we selected the colour, we are going to just paint on a corner that we feel is going to be suitable. Now the way I sort of see this is, this is going to be more in our peripheral vision than this. So really this side should overlap this one. Okay, and so for this reason we're just going to start off using two different colours just to differentiate between those, so we can see where they clearly are. So in this corner we want to sort of carry on in similar sort of vein with these bits that come out, and obviously go back in. Okay, and as long as we keep pushing Alt and collecting our picker, we can just keep painting using the same colours. It should be a really sort of quick and easy process. Now we might want to start curving that around and have sort of like a little bay dipping in underneath. And then we just want to start adding some bits from the bottom, maybe. Start including perhaps some more shadow around this side, which might be coming from this section here, and we can definitely fill some in down there. Okay, and getting that in. And we may also want to start adding some little bits of these further up. Okay, just add a little bit more texture, and obviously we can add a bit more shadow as well. Give the impression that there are some ledges and some actual, bumps there, rather than it just being a flat surface. And then once we've done that, we can start to paint in the remainder of this curve here. So it should be a really sort of quick and easy process. Shouldn't take too long. As long as you keep flicking between all, you should be fine. Now obviously the one thing that I've done here is I've accidentally done it on this bottom layer, but not to worry. All we have to do is take our selection. We can push Control X, and then we can take create a new layer, go to our sealed corner. As I say, I have had a long day today, so I do apologise if I'm slightly off. And there we go. Okay, so not to worry, I don't think we've picked up any of the water work on that. Let's just double check if we hide everything else. No, we've just picked up the pixels that we've painted, which is exactly what we wanted. Okay, so cool. Right, so now we've got that sorted. The one thing we do want to do though is pick up the original watercolours. Now as I've copied these over, they may slightly be off. So what we're going to do is just go back to here, and we should be fine actually. Let's just go in. Yeah, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. So go back to our layer, and now we're going to paint in some of the water features from up here. So again, just get the right tool, and we can start to put this in. Obviously these areas want to be darker because we're giving the impression that the ground is going underneath, as we discussed in the previous video. And obviously we want to sort of paint that development on, and that progression. We could probably have a few bits around here, and well, I sort of get blue that I know goes around there, and there we go. Okay, and obviously we can check these over again, and if we've sort of used too many, we can always go back. Okay, so it sort of blends in. Now we don't necessarily want to create too much of a shadow around here, because this, as we imagine, is going to be at the top. Like if we imagine a cliff, this section that we are drawing of the mud, which is light, is here. Okay, and the shadow would fall underneath, and we don't really want to show that because it might give the impression again that this is building underground, and that would mean we'd have to do more brown above that, and so on and so forth. So again, our bits fit together quite nicely. We're just going to zoom out and see how that looks. Okay, cool. I think they blend in okay. I think there's a bit of an issue here, which means that we may need to just quickly edit our side. I'm going to quickly edit this side piece. And basically, so if I select the right one, we don't necessarily want that to give too much of that impression. So I'm going to build the remainder of this in, which will help it appearing seamless as it is. Okay, and I think the same can go for this one at the bottom. So we will need to recopy those over, but we can add some bits in. In fact, I've just done exactly the same thing that I just removed, like that. If we go back to this piece, just to keep the consistency there, we'll add some more in. Okay, cool. So the final thing to do now is to just copy the water over again, and add that as an overlay to this corner. So we're going to rename this one, bottom left corner, and what we're going to do is just hide that top layer for now, and we are going to select the parts that we need. So again, that one's been painted on there on the wrong layer, so we'll just erase that. Remember to make your brushes smaller. Push the squared bracket, and make sure you've got the right layer selected, which is this one, and cool, we're good, we can hide that. So what we're going to do is select the water that we have here. Okay, so we want to make our selection tool, take our style from fixed size to normal, which will free us up. And if you can remember, like we did in the previous tutorial, we are just going to select these. If you push Alt above Control, that adds to the selection, and if you remember, the Shift above Control allows us to add to the selection, and Alt, which is next to the space bar on the left hand side, will detract from that selection. So once we've selected this, we can select our big layer, and we're going to go to Select Inverse, or Inverse, which is Shift Control I, and we can get our eraser. We can make it bigger again because we want to cover a much larger surface in a much quicker time. Now it won't look as though anything's happened, but actually if you look at the layer, it has. Okay, and still probably get rid of a bit more. And there you go. So what we're going to do is, with this layer, push Ctrl D, so it's no longer selected. We are going to bring the opacity down to about 50, and we're going to put this on a overlay. Okay, to bring us that intenseness, same as before. So in order for this corner to sort of match up the end where that is, we're going to move it over to the top right. Okay, and I was just going to say what, we'll go to fixed size. In fact, no, actually we'll just shift click both of these, make the selection tool, and we will pull it up. Okay, and what we'll do is just quickly select that, Control Shift C, which copies it, remember, and we'll push Control V, and actually if we bring that in, so it's slightly different to the one I did previously, but look at that, matches up perfectly, and the colours on the water are also very similar and the same. Okay, so the next stage is to create this inverse corner, so that if our selection was actually going around this way, it would match up. As you can see at this moment in time, again, if we put this one here, this non-suit it's not sealing off that. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to our sprite sheet again. We're going to take the two that we're using, which is here and here, and we'll hide our previous one. We'll create a new folder and we'll just put them both into here. We'll just call this bottom left. We'll rename this one water highlight, so double click. Just as to say, every time it keeps us managing our folders nicely. And then what we're going to do is actually reposition these pieces so we can line up the piece that we want to create correctly. So the next piece that we make, we will want it to match up. So it's a corner piece, we will want it to match up. Where would we want it to match it up? Let's work this out. So if we have this here, it would need to match up with this piece. So it would need to sit in this part here, maybe, or this part. I'm not too sure. Let's say what? Let's just copy it over. I mean, the good thing about these water tiles as well is actually, you know, if you did copy them slightly differently, that it wouldn't make too much difference. If you was to copy like a slimmer piece, if you was to copy like this half and repeat it, it wouldn't be too noticeable. So once we get that corner piece in, so again that would be this top right. Yeah, so I was right. Okay, so that's Control Z to undo. So we want this top right. So what we're going to do is now create a new folder above this, and we're going to call this open corner, because obviously the remainder of the water, sorry I didn't put corner in there, will be open over the rest of the water that we have on the map. So what we're going to do is grab the pencil, and I'm going to create a new layer, unlike what I did last time, and we're going to quickly just paint in a small corner piece. at this stage, you know, they just need to line up. We don't need to have anything overly amazing happening. Okay, we don't really need too much shadow, I don't think. Just as long as, you know, it matches up, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, and we can imagine our pebbles sort of sat in the middle here. That'll be fine. Just want to break it up a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think that kind of works. So again, now it's just a case of adding the bit of shadow around the water. So again, we just want to catch not necessarily the top side, but more of this side here, and we'll place a little bit of this in, and then obviously back to our sort of really light smooth blue. Really simple, this one, really quick. Yeah, we'll keep that to blend in there. What we're going to do now is just hide and realign these pieces where we need them to be. The same with that one as well. And in fact, we're just going to double check and make sure I got that line in the right place. So if I get the selection tool, again, go back to fixed size, which is 16 by 16 pixels. Yeah, so we just need to delete that and take us one down. So let's, if we shuffle, if we bring that down, that layer down, not that layer, let's take that back up. If we bring this down, and then we're going to go to our eraser, push E on the keyboard, square, left square, close bracket to delete that. And what we're going to do is just repaint this lighter part further up. Okay, obviously we can, you know, make that a little bit more brown. Hang that in. In fact, I think I won't fancy in that corner there. Okay, and then we can hide these off. Now what we're going to do is just quickly rename this as sealed corner. This time it is the top right. And once that's done, we're going to recopy this water layer. Okay, remember to keep saving your work. I did not save mine in the last one. Obviously I've done these tutorials a few times over now, and it does become a little bit repetitive, doing the same ocean a couple of times over. We just want to inverse this selection again. So you should all be quite familiar with the process by now, which it can be a little bit boring, but the end result is totally worth it, because we end up with a really cool looking piece of work. So what we're going to do is just deselect, Control D, it's not letting me do it, there we go. We're going to hide this little bit of layer, and what we're going to do is select the land. Once we go our selection tool, change it back to normal, just select these pieces here, because we don't want these on this selection, and then we're going to just erase those. Okay, Control D, and then we're going to go to 50% opacity, and then we're going to go to overlay, which brings us back to where we were before. Okay, or is it multiple? Did I use multiple line? No, it's definitely overlay. So once we have that, what we can do now is Control Shift and C, which copies it all over, and if we push Control V, it brings us back in, and there we have it. We have it all matching up quite nicely. And if we bring let's say we bring this out, there's a way of fitting in. Obviously, you know, I didn't click the bits there. We can start building that in, okay, quite nicely, which is pretty cool. And again, we'll just bring this in. I think this part was here, wasn't it? Or was it there? Just duplicate that. Yeah, okay, so it's not working too well. Yeah, there we go. So again, really cool once we start making these seamless and matching up, and hopefully when we come to fit these in, so we first to do that, and we duplicate oh, part, let's select this layer button. Okay, so let's just go and duplicate the layer. Oh, wrong one. Typical. Let's go in, duplicate the layer, that's time it's done it. And there we go. So again, we can keep copying these over, keep fitting them in. And we end up with this really cool sort of seamless environment where we can start really mapping it out. Okay, so I'm just going to undo all of those bits that I just did, and what we're going to do is I want you to now go ahead and complete the remainder of these tutorials. Obviously keep your corner piece in the corner, and these new ones we can start to build up against the side here. So I will see you, remember to rename them as well. So that's the new one, but I can dispose of that. And this one, I like to keep my things in sort of order. So again, we can put these in a folder. It's closed corner, and we'll create another folder with open corner, and then this layer can be top right corner. We'll put water at the beginning as well, and there we have it. So as long as you go ahead now and make the remaining three for each of the closed and open corners, we should be able to move on to the next session. Okay.